An American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and destroyed
smog, which last winter killed 4,000 Londoners in a single week. Smog has become one of the greatest mass
to regard any nuclear missile launched from Cuba against
This is Columbia Glacier, and it's now on the brink of a major change.
The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan gives particular grounds for international concern.
That is moving to unlimited nuclear war, which would destroy Western civilization.
I am not a man, but I'm like a man.
Tall and skinny and wide-eyed like a bird.
Friend or foe, destroyer or preserver.
I'm sick from the pills, the inoculations, the inhaled gases. Sick from worry, the anticipation of crisis, from the awful burden of my own weight. But I knew I would feel like this. We planned for it.
Can I help you, sir?
I wonder if you might be interested in this ring. My car broke down. I think it's quite valuable.
Where'd you get it?
My wife gave it to me. I have ID, if that helps.
Thomas Jerome Newton. Yeah, okay.
Well then, what would you be...
$60.
I was hoping for a little...
$60.
Two days ago, I destroyed my craft.
Mr. Newton is here, sir.
I'm in the city called New York.
I don't know any Newton. What does he want?
He didn't say.
I have met a lot of humans now. Many of them in the jewelry profession.
He's odd, sir.
But I am ready for the next stage. Mr. Farnsworth.
I have office hours, Mr. Newton.
I'm told that you are the best man in the United States with patents. Also that you are very expensive.
True.
Good.
What's on the case? Isn't it a little late for $1,000 bills? You're being pretty damn melodramatic.
There are 10. For about 3 hours of your close attention.
Well, you could have had my attention for less than $10,000.
Yes, but I wanted to impress you with the importance of our talk.
What's this about?
I can make you very rich, Mr. Farnsworth, if you give your next 5 years entirely to me. There are papers in the briefcase I'd like you to read. I'll wait. I have his interest, so I relax just a little. But the reason I'm here is always with me. Like the ache in my muscles from the pull of this planet's stronger gravity. But I was chosen for my strength, and I have been trained to endure.
You are an unusual man, Mr. Newton. Do you mind me asking where you're from?
Not at all. I'm from England.
Ah. Well, I don't understand all of this, but I know electronics. Your flat-screen television and miniature music player look very convincing.
They will work. All of them.
There are 9 basic patents. Good grief, man. What are your plans, Mr. Newton?
To make as much money as possible, as quickly as possible.
Well, hang on a minute. Now,
there are considerations. One is that we do this honestly. 2 is that I be required to have little contact with anyone but you.
Oh. Well, in 5 years, I can give you a net worth of $300 million.
That won't be enough.
Enough for what, Mr. Newton?
of songs at the touch of a button. Imagine a portable computer you can put in your lap. New from World Enterprises.
World Color Film, because memories should be instant.
When Helen died, I discovered that it could be a fine thing on an oyster-colored morning to be gently but firmly drunk. It has to be undertaken with a chemist's precision. Otherwise, there are certain cliffs that could be fallen off.
Professor, smile.
Oh, hey, Miller, come on.
I wanted to capture you in your natural environment. I see you here more than I do on campus.
Oh, that says as much about you as it does about...
Oh, here you are, Professor Bryce. I think I got your best side.
What? What is that? Polaroid?
No, this is better. It does the whole film.
That's not possible.
Are you sure you're a chemistry professor?
Let me see that. World color. What is that?
That's how it comes. You put it back in the can and press the button on top.
No, this is not technology we have.
$5 at the drugstore.
Show me.
Now?
Now.
Professor Bryce.
Show me now. Come on.
WE Core stock rose a further 6% today following their launch of a new kind of recyclable...
Farnsworth is everything I hoped for.
8%.
Usually a product takes at least 12 months to get onto the market. But after 2 years...
That is 73 products and 313 patents leased out.
314 with the new petroleum process.
Apologies, my mistake.
I'm aware of Oliver's amazement at my grasp of these matters. It would be useful, I think, to make occasional, deliberate mistakes, to be human. These creatures are still dangerous, and it has been thousands of years since they have seen an Anthean undisguised. Oliver, now that our money is beginning to accumulate, I want to talk about a research project. Non-profit.
Non-profit?
Yes. I think the best thing is to set up a research foundation. We'll use all the capital I can gather. About 140 million.
Whoa, 140?
Yes, I know. But I'm going to sell my rights in World Color to Kodak. You may, of course, keep your share.
If I had a copyright on the Bible, I wouldn't sell it to Random House.
I need the capital. There's some land I'd like to buy in Kentucky.
I suppose you know what you're doing. You always do.
I'd been experimenting with rolls of World Color film in my apartment all week. Helen would have said I'd become obsessed. Now I needed access to proper facilities, which unfortunately meant talking to our head of faculty. Professor Canuti, have you seen this new camera film?
World Color. Great product.
Do you know how it works?
Like any other film, I guess?
No. The best color films have 3 separate emulsions, one for each primary. This one has no emulsion at all.
That sounds impossible. Where's the photosensitivity?
In the base. The developer is gaseous. It's all mildly radioactive, which may explain something.
So the film's a little unusual. Why don't you just write to the company?
I did. They don't answer their mail. And this film doesn't use a single chemical technique from over 100 years of photography. The process is pretty much extraterrestrial.
Come on, Nate. I doubt we've been visited by little green men. Not to sell us camera film.
Well, how else do you explain this? A whole new technology.
You're right. It's amazing. You should speak to that top guy.
I need to find out who's responsible.
Just go to Kentucky. Knock on the door and ask, "Take me to your leader."
You're an idiot.
5 minutes after I leave the airport in Louisville, I realize I've made a mistake. I should have sent Farnsworth to finalize the property deal. The temperature is over 90, and being physically unable to sweat, I almost pass out in the limousine as my gravity-sensitive body is ground into the hard cushions.
Don't think of it as a job interview, Peggy said. More a friendly chat. But I'm late. There's a tear in my dress, and I probably shouldn't have had that drink.
Oh, sorry. I have a meeting on the 19th.
Funny-looking fella. Not too old, but white hair. Kind of sickly looking. Are you okay, mister?
I didn't expect the building to be so high.
Don't worry. These lifts are really quick.
I think I need to get out. Oh.
Are you sure you're okay?
How quick is it exactly?
I'm walking. It'll have you there and... Oh, mister. Your nose is bleeding. Oh, let me help. Was that your leg? Oh, no, we're stopped. How am I supposed to get you out? Mister?
I have passed out twice before in my life. Once during training, once during takeoff. I think I hurt my legs.
Yeah, you sure did. One of them bent up like old Balaam were. I've been trying to get you to a doctor.
No, please. Please don't.
Oh, you gotta have a doctor, mister. You've been bad hurt.
No doctors. Oh, if I can...
Mister, no. Don't you do that. You need to get away.
She took me to her apartment.
Put him on the couch with his leg propped up. I hadn't looked after anyone since Barney died. I kind of missed it.
I grew fond of her, as if she were a useful pet.
Tommy, I got wine.
And I learnt to enjoy alcohol during my convalescence. Thank you, Betty Jo. Is it chilled?
Uh-huh. Today's my day for welfare, and there's a store right by that gets a lot of the welfare business. I got gin, too. I'm going to put the TV on. But it's so small.
Hundreds of songs.
Oh, hey, it's one of yours, Tommy. I can't believe you make these things, and then here you are.
I think I'll have some wine now, Betty Jo.
You know, that could make some fellas real full of themselves, but not you, Tommy. You are one of a kind.
Thank you, Betty Jo. You're one of a kind, too. And I expect I'll be able to move on from here next week.
Oh, what for, Tommy? There's no call to hurry.
There is for me. I'm grateful for these last weeks, but I must get back to work.
Are you sure?
Oh, that will be Mr. Farnsworth. Would you pass me the receiver?
This research project is going to...
That lawyer is here all the time now.
Low profile you've had till now.
Are you sure?
We need to manage the...
Look at you, though. Not so bad for 40 in this dress. If I could just get him to look at me in that way, that would be something. Come on, Betty Jo. You already buried one husband. You know how the world works.
So who is he?
His name's Bryce. He's a professor of chemistry.
Have you met him?
Can I get anyone anything? Coffee? Something stronger?
Says he won't talk to anyone but you.
Anyone mind if I top myself up?
Oh, that's not possible.
Yeah, I told him. But he's not taking no. To be honest, we need men with Bryce's training.
I understand, but I can't see anyone right now.
Hey, what about when you move to the new place on the estate?
Is it ready?
They sure like to talk. Who are you kidding, Betty Jo? Dressing yourself up like some movie star?
Thank you, Oliver. We'll speak soon.
Okay.
Would you like to come with me, Betty Jo?
Where?
My new home. To be my housekeeper.
Housekeeper?
I'll need help. You know I dislike meeting strangers. You could talk to people for me.
I fixed you a drink, Tommy. I put it by the television.
Gin?
I thought you ought to try. It's pretty good.
Will you come with me, Betty Jo?
You don't need me. Are you married, Tommy?
Yes.
What does she look like?
Oh, she resembles me, I imagine. Tall and thin.
Well, I used to be thin. come? I'd be a damn fool not to, since I imagine you'll pay me twice as much as I'm worth.
Good. I will take that gin now, Betty Jo, to drink to us.
To us.
Let us be aware that while they preach the supremacy of the state, declare its omnipotence over individual man, and predict its eventual domination of all peoples on the earth, they are the focus of evil in the modern world.
As the plane descends, I can see the whole estate, the lake, the mansion, and a private runway, no less. I've turned my back on teaching for a man I've never met, a man who might not be a man. But whoever this man is, whatever he's doing, it's important, and I need to be here for that.
The house is bigger than all the places I ever lived put together. Some days I don't see Tommy at all. And when folks do come, Tommy has the Frenchman now. He likes to take care of those things.
Monsieur Bryce.
Monsieur Bernard. Enchanté de faire votre connaissance.
Ah, soyez le bienvenu, monsieur le docteur. Monsieur Newton vous attend. Alors?
What? Newton will see me?
I will show you to the library and tell him you are here.
Professor Bryce, how was your flight?
Very pleasant, Mr. Newton. Thanks for seeing me.
Why don't we sit down, have a drink?
Sure, a scotch.
Betty Jo. Yes, Tommy? This is Betty Jo, my housekeeper. Please bring Professor Bryce a scotch.
Sure.
I've recently come to enjoy gin. Well, I suppose you saw all the activity when you got off the plane.
Yeah, it looked interesting, but to tell the truth, I don't know what you're building.
Oliver didn't tell you in New York. He can be very secretive. Perhaps that's why you demanded to see me.
Maybe. I had other reasons.
Yes?
I thought I'd just go ahead and bring the bottles.
Thank you, Betty Jo. It's a space vehicle.
How's that?
What we're building here.
Isn't that something? I couldn't believe it when Tommy told me.
You want me on medals for the frame?
Well, the frame is worked out. I'd like you on fuel-carrying systems, heat and acid resistance. Oliver says that you're one of the very best men for that kind of work.
I know the work fairly well.
Why did you want to see me?
I was impressed with your work. World color, the electronics.
Thank you. I thought very few people knew that I was responsible for those things.
Oh, Tommy is such a smart guy.
Oh, Betty Jo.
I'd love to talk to you about it all. The camera film, for example. How did you even start to think about processing in that way?
That is a story for another time. Betty Jo, ask Bernard to take the professor to his accommodation. Mm-hmm. It was good to meet you, Professor. We'll talk soon.
It wasn't soon. Those next months, I was busier than I'd been in my life. I had a staff of 14, a huge laboratory. When I visited the construction site, it was like a small city. Most of these people had never met their elusive employer. In a series of events that began with a roll of film and which had depended on absurd science fiction speculation, I had fluked into a job most men might dream of, working for a reclusive millionaire. Then came the press conference, and suddenly the whole world knew about Thomas Newton.
The purpose of my spacecraft will be to measure radiation levels in the Van Allen belt. It is the first step towards traveling to Mars, Venus, or beyond.
Do you have a launch date, Mr. Newton?
March 14th, 1985.
Every day across the lake, I see the polished silver monolith. Sometimes the sight makes me feel pride. Sometimes it frightens me. A spaceship in a Kentucky pasture, owned by a millionaire who lives alone with one drunken servant and a French secretary. Who is Thomas Newton? And what does he want from us?
A nuclear stockpile of 11,000, but opponents of the new missiles believe that such additions...
But they also mean a steady rise of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and that may bring changes in the environment that could be very unwelcome.
Staying late in the lab one night in November, I made a discovery. Looking at Newton's measurements, there was something about the sequence of numbers. Then it hit me. What kind of man computes with logarithms using the base 12?
Dr. Bryce, I saw the light was on, and I had Bernard drive me over.
Are you checking up on me, Mr. Newton?
Can I interest you in a drink?
Do you want me to get you a coat from the lab?
Oh, thank you. I'm used to cold where I come from.
And where's that? There it is. The old suspicion.
England.
Come on, Bryce. England explains a lot of things except the science and those damnable logarithms.
I was told there would be lakes, but nothing prepares you. How much water is that, do you suppose?
5 million gallons? 10?
I've never seen water like this.
Isn't England famously wet? And an island?
Let's have another.
If you say so. It struck me that my employer was drunk and that I might be drunk too. I was suddenly hit by a wave of affection for this strange, lonely man.
There we are. Cheers. Do you think there will be a war?
Don't we have some already? Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, Mozambique.
I mean a big war with big weapons. 6 nations have nuclear weapons. Biological, who knows? You think they'll be used?
I don't know why it hasn't happened yet. Are we building a weapon?
No, not really. How long?
How long what?
Until the big war begins, the one that will ruin everything.
Oh, why not ruin everything? Everything may need ruining.
Would you say 10 years? I was taught it would be 10 at least.
Who teaches things like that? What are you? From Mars?
Not quite.
Venus? Philadelphia? I'd say 5.
That won't be long enough.
Long enough for what?
I hope it will be 10.
Why?
If we have 10 years, then something might stop it.
What? Man's higher instincts? The second coming?
Perhaps.
If Jesus comes, he'd better watch his step.
Well, I imagine he'll remember what happened to him last time. Sometimes I feel like I must be going insane, in the way that humans do.
Mr. Newton, isn't it a little self-indulgent?
Self-indulgent?
We already have a space program. Did you just like the idea of putting your name on the side of a rocket?
Idiot.
Obviously, NASA is doing great work. This was always my plan, to use the company's profits to benefit mankind.
Then why not spend your money closer to home?
Who's home?
There are people starving. You could save the world with this money.
If they knew. If they knew. Stupid. I'm caught up in their little lives. Like ants.
Tommy?
What is happening to me?
Tommy?
I'm losing control.
Tommy?
What do you want?
Mr. Farnsworth called.
Tell him I'm not speaking to anyone anymore. I sound like them. I sound like them. That was the plan. Not like this. I'm becoming a lost and foolish creature. Like Betty Joe. It's true. I'm like a man, surrounded by animals, and I'm becoming more and more like them every day. But I don't know who I am anymore. Look in the mirror. You want me to take it off? Show me. This shirt. Yes, take it all off. The prosthetics. The contact lenses. Yes, take them out. Both of them. There are your real eyes. Look at you now.
I don't know who that is.
Stick to the plan.
I don't know who I am anymore. Where do I belong?
Tommy? Mr. Farnsworth called again. Do you want me to sit with you, Tommy? We could talk. Tommy? Okay. You get some rest now, you hear?
Let us pray for the salvation of all of those who live in that totalitarian darkness. Pray they will discover the joy of knowing God. But until they do, let us be aware that while they preach the
Dr.
supremacy
Bryce?
of the state,
Mr. Newton sent me.
declare
Come
its
inside,
omnipotence
get warm.
over individual man that
He wants to know if you'll go to Chicago with him.
on the earth.
Next month, there's a meeting.
The Institute of Chemical Engineers? Why does he want to go to that?
I don't know. He hasn't been saying much lately. I hardly see him.
He's a busy man.
Maybe. He talks to the Frenchman. Sometimes he talks to me. Often he just sits in his room.
What does Bernard do exactly?
He carries a gun, Mr. Bryce. And you watch the way he moves, I don't trust him.
A lot of wealthy men have bodyguards. He's a kind of secretary, too, isn't he?
Mr. Newton don't write letters.
No, I suppose not.
Could I have a little drink?
Sure. Whiskey? Gin?
Please.
Sorry, I've forgotten your name.
My name's Betty Jo, Mr. Bryce. Betty Jo Mosher.
Are you from Kentucky?
Yes. I was in Louisville until I met Tommy. I call him Tommy sometimes. I used to think he liked it.
Where did you meet?
Thanks. In an elevator. Somehow he broke his leg.
His leg?
Sounds funny as hell, but the elevator must have been too much. If you knew how light he was.
How light?
You could pick him up with one hand. His bones must be like a bird's. He's such a nice man, and he's so smart, but... Mr. Bryce?
Yes?
I think he's sick. I think he's sick real bad. You ought to see the pills he takes, and I think he has... well, troubles in his mind. I don't think he ever sleeps. I've been with him a year now, and I've not seen him. He's not human.
Top up?
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Dr. Bryce. I really appreciate you letting me talk like this.
Come whenever you like.
Can I?
I want you to. I don't have many people to talk to either.
That makes three of us, doesn't it?
Merry Christmas! Welcome to Chicago. Can I have your names, please?
Nathan Bryce and, Thomas Newton.
Mr. Newton! Oh, our company leases 7 processes from you. But we were starting to think you only existed on television.
Maybe I do.
Here are your badges. There's a bar in the other room. Why don't I go get you some...
Thanks, but we'll get our own.
I had forgotten there would be so many people.
Doesn't Farnsworth usually do this sort of thing? Recruitment?
Perhaps I just wanted a holiday. I'd go somewhere I'd never been.
Sometimes I think I should have taken a job at a firm like this.
Didn't you work in the nuclear industry before you went into teaching?
I didn't think anyone knew I was responsible for those things.
I had you investigated. Why did you work on the bomb?
In those days, I believed in pure science, secrets of the atom, our only hope in a chaotic world.
And you don't believe in those things anymore?
No.
I don't suppose I do either.
Nathan Bryce! I'll be damned.
Professor Canute, my old head of department. This is Thomas Newton.
Yes, of course. World Enterprises. Biggest thing since General Dynamics.
Pleasure to meet you too.
Are you working together?
Dr. Bryce has been with us for a year.
This is priceless. I've got to tell you, Mr. Newton, I'm sure Nate won't mind, but before he left us at Penley, he was worrying his head off about some of the products he's probably working on now.
Really?
Nate's one of the top men in the field, as I'm sure you know. But he thought your color films were invented on Mars.
Oh.
Or somewhere. I bet when he saw you, he expected someone with 3 heads. Or tentacles.
That's very amusing. I am sorry to disappoint you.
No disappointment at all.
Mr. Newton, let me talk to you about the exciting work we're doing.
Excuse me. Martini, please.
Nathan.
Where's Canuti?
I told him we were leaving. He's an offensive man, isn't he?
He tries.
Come on, let's get out of here.
Well? Are you?
Of course I am.
Jesus.
Let's get drunk, Dr. Bryce. It's an occasion.
Is it Mars?
Does it make any difference?
I'm sure it should.
I am from a planet we call Anthea.
What are you here for?
I'm not certain that I know. I thought I knew. But now I've had more time to think.
What is the ship being built for? Is it a ship?
It's a ship. Or more precisely, a ferry boat.
Then you're planning to bring more. Why build it here?
There was only enough fuel for a one-way trip. We've almost nothing left.
What are you Antheans coming here for? As invaders? Tourists?
Neither. We might be able to save you from destroying yourselves if we are quick enough about it.
Hold on.
Please. You don't know what a relief it is to talk. We've had our own wars, you see. That's where our resources went. We used to be a powerful people now, but we have a great deal of technical knowledge. If our plan is carried out, there will be the equivalent of world enterprises in every country. Then we will go into politics and the military.
You want to rule us?
Not at all. And it might not work. You could still blow yourselves up first.
Isn't that our choice?
Do you believe that?
I don't know. No. Disarmament is being negotiated. Not all of us are insane.
It only requires a few.
And you're doing this out of the goodness of your hearts?
Of course not. We are coming here to save ourselves.
What from?
Extinction. We have almost no water, no natural resources. There are less than 300 Antheans alive.
My God, you did almost wipe yourselves out.
We did indeed. As I imagine you will do before long.
Maybe you should come. But what if something happened to you before the ship is complete? Wouldn't that be the end of it?
Yes.
Then what's to prevent me from stopping this invasion or manipulation? You're weak. From what Betty Jo told me.
You're quite right. You could snap my neck like a chicken's. Do you want to?
I don't know. That's why I came to work for you. I wanted to stop you.
Why?
I guess atonement?
For your work on the bomb?
I thought this could be my chance to be the hero, save humanity, but now, I don't know.
You know, I almost wish that you could stop me. That you would. It would make things much simpler.
How?
For some time now, I've been thinking about not completing the plan.
What? Why?
I think I've had enough of Chicago. Would you like to go home?
Now?
I'll have our pilot wakened.
Why would you not go through with your plan?
I sometimes think I will be insane in a few more years. There are things about your cultures here, your societies that we did not know about on Anthea. I'm not certain that my people will be able to stand your world.
You could isolate yourselves, make your own city.
And wait for the bombs to fall. We are a great deal wiser than you are. And we are certain that your world will be a radioactive wasteland in no more than 30 years if you're left to yourselves. It dismays us to see what you're doing with such a beautiful, fertile world. We destroyed ours, but we had so much less to start with. There are times when you seem to us like apes, loose in a museum, slashing the canvases.
It was human beings who painted the pictures.
A few human beings. Only a few.
Mr. Newton, we're coming into land.
Bryce, what is it?
The sun is coming up, and there's an extra plane on your runway. We have visitors.
Tommy, I'm sorry. I don't know what they want. Bernard, just let them in.
Monsieur Newton?
Have our guests been waiting long?
No. In fact, we had you delayed at the Chicago airport until we could get here. I hope you weren't inconvenienced.
How did you manage that?
Well, I'm with the FBI. These men are my colleagues.
That's interesting. I suppose it makes you a spy.
I suppose it does. Monsieur Newton, I've been told to take all three of you into custody.
For what?
You're charged with illegal entry. We believe you're an illegal alien, Monsieur Newton.
All right, my fellow Americans, I'm pleased to tell you today that I've signed legislation that will outlaw Russia forever. We begin bombing in 5 minutes.
For 2 weeks, I've done nothing but read. That is when I'm not being questioned or examined by doctors, anthropologists, government officials in grey suits. I am brought whatever I ask for, with speed and politeness. I have a record player, a library of video films, and a well-stocked bar. There is a telephone, but it never rings. Sometimes when I'm feeling lonely or a little drunk, I lift the receiver.
We are sorry, but this telephone is restricted. We are sorry, but this telephone...
Occasionally I'm mentioned on news programs, for it is impossible that a man of my wealth could have been placed under arrest without some publicity.
Sources suggest some issue with his documentation, but for all Washington will say, it must be assumed that Mr. Newton, now under surveillance and in custody, is a visitor from either outer Mongolia or outer space.
Something funny, Mr. Newton.
Doctor, I was just imagining what the folks back home are making of all this.
This is Nurse Griggs. Time for another test, I'm afraid.
For 2 weeks you've x-rayed me, recorded my brain waves, taken direct samples from my bone, liver and kidneys. I hardly think I'd have any more surprises for you.
God knows we found you interesting. You have a rather far-fetched set of organs.
I'm a freak, Doctor.
I don't know what we'd do if you developed appendicitis or something. We'd hardly know where to look.
I imagine you'd operate anyway. You would probably be delighted to open me up and see what new curiosities you could find.
Take off your shirt. We'll be working on your back. Oh.
Sorry, nurse. It can be a shock the first time seeing me without my disguises. I'm afraid one of Dr. Martinez's colleagues had them taken away.
Would you give Mr. Newton the Nembucane?
Doctor, I've told you, anesthetics have no effect except to give me a headache. If you are going to do something painful, there is no point in making it more painful.
Now we wait for the Nembucane to take effect.
Which it won't.
Then I'm going to draw samples from the marrow of your spinal vertebrae.
My bones are hollow.
That's not possible.
There is no marrow. I am a mutant. Can't you take my word for anything?
I'm sorry.
Well, while we're waiting, I'd like to try an anesthetic of my own. Gin and water. Although now I see the impressive collection of instruments your nurse has just laid out, I may omit the water.
Betty Jo.
Dr. Bryce, were you waiting for me?
They finished with me this morning. I hope they'd let you go, too. Did they treat you well?
I guess so. They sure asked a lot of questions about Tommy. How long will they keep him, do you think?
For as long as they can.
Well, that's just... I don't think that's right here. He needs to be looked after. He needs...
I'm sorry, Betty Jo. Where are you going to stay?
I don't know. I don't have any family here.
Do you want to stay with me? Maybe at a hotel? And then if you wanted to, we could find an apartment.
My God, yes. Yes, I think we ought to stay together, Dr. Bryce.
After 2 months, the CIA seemed to have finished their physical tests. Yet no one has asked the most obvious of questions. Am I a visitor from outer space?
Good morning, Mr. Newton.
Director Bowen.
I have to confess, you have us as mystified as ever.
I am Thomas Jerome Newton from Salisbury, England. I am a physical freak. You have seen my birth certificate from the records office. I was born there in 1918.
That would make you 66 years old. You look 40.
Thank you. As I say, I'm a mutant. Possibly a new species. I don't think that's illegal, is it?
It's not illegal, but we believe your birth record is forged, and that's illegal.
Can you prove it?
Probably not. A 1918 record is hard to check on. We can't locate anyone who knew you prior to 5 years ago.
Because I am such a freak, Mr. Bowen. My mother let hardly anyone see me.
And then you materialized in Kentucky, where you decided to start selling rings from town to town.
That's right. I moved there.
100 identical gold rings, all of which you sold for less than the materials were worth.
I'm an eccentric, Mr. Bowen.
Nobody's that eccentric.
Well, how would you explain it?
I think you brought the rings with you on a spaceship. How's that for a guess?
It's interesting.
Even more interesting when you consider that we found the remains of a peculiar craft 5 miles from the town where you sold your first ring.
If I had arrived by spaceship, wouldn't I have a better way of getting money than by selling rings? By counterfeiting it, perhaps?
And where would you find, on Venus, say, a $10 bill to copy? What is fascinating about all of this is that a person of your intelligence could make so many blunders. Why do you suppose we decided to pick you up when you were in Chicago?
I don't know.
That's what I mean. Apparently you, Antheians, is it, aren't altogether accustomed to thinking as we do. I believe any ordinary human spy story enthusiast would have realized that we were bound to have had a microphone in your room in Chicago when you were explaining yourself to Dr. Bryce.
No, Mr. Bowen. Apparently, Antheians don't think as you people do. But then, we wouldn't lock up a person for 2 months so that we could ask him questions, the answers to which we already knew.
It wasn't my idea to arrest you. It was the FBI's. Somebody high up panicked. They were afraid you were going to blow up the world with that ship of yours.
But once the FBI heard your recording, I suppose you made a recording, they must have changed their minds about my purposes.
The tape has never left my office. To be honest, we don't trust the FBI. That's why we got them to hand you over. If they heard your story, they might have solved the problem that we've been wrestling with by killing you.
And you don't intend to kill me?
It certainly occurred to us. I've never been for it, mainly because we might be killing the goose that lays the golden eggs.
How so?
These are perilous times. I imagine you Antheians know a great deal about weapons.
No. If you heard me talking to Bryce, then you know that...
I do. And actually, we have several military projects underway based on tech you already released into the market.
So what? You will shoot me after all?
You're too famous. The president wants us to let you go.
Cheers. In the morning, I'm given my disguises. It seems silly to put them on, but looking in the mirror, I am glad to have the contact lenses. I'm relieved to feel human again.
Mr. Newton, I am FBI Agent Brady. I will be processing you out of this building.
Thank you, Agent Brady.
Follow me. So what were you being held for anyway, Mr. Newton?
Doesn't Mr. Bowen inform you of things like that?
Bowen doesn't tell anybody anything. Except maybe the president. And then only what he feels like telling. Through here.
What is this? Haven't you tested me enough?
That was CIA. We're FBI. I'm sorry if there's duplication, but we need this stuff for our files. Blood tag, fingerprints, things like that.
All right.
Good. We'll start easy. Take off your sunglasses and sit at the optical device.
What are you going to do?
Just photographs. It won't hurt.
What kind of photographs?
2 kinds. A routine ID photo of your retina. The other is an X-ray.
No. Didn't the CIA inform you about me? About my eyes?
What about your eyes?
They're sensitive to X-rays.
Nobody's eyes can see X-rays.
Well, I can. I see altogether differently from the way that you do. Let me show you. I'll remove my contact lenses.
He's not wearing contact lenses.
It's a new kind, a membrane. If you'll release me,
There's
I
no
can...
such thing.
Let him try, Kate. Use a taxpayer.
I'll need a mirror. Do you have a pair of tweezers?
Here.
They are a little large. No, all right. Okay, I'll try. Sorry, could you hold the mirror? My hands won't stop shaking. Sorry, do the lights have to be so bright? God, I've dropped them.
Okay, that's enough.
No, please. Please, just get Mr. Bowen.
Bowen never tells us anything. Hold his arm.
No.
Clamp his head.
No, you don't know what you're doing. No, you can't do this to me. I'm not a human being. I am not a human being.
It's done. Get him up.
Come now, Mr. Newton. Mr. Newton. Come on.
Wait. Let me see his eyes.
What is it?
I think he's blind.
Kept in a government hospital for 6 weeks, where the doctors are able to do nothing whatsoever. The light-sensitive cells of my retinas have been almost completely seared.
Mr. Newton!
Mr. Newton, over here.
Mr. Newton, over here.
Can I have a minute?
Mr. Newton! I have a car waiting.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you for coming. We have business to discuss.
Yes. You're on television, you know.
Am I? Where's the camera?
On your right.
Turn me towards it, please.
There you go.
Over here, Mr. Newton.
Did someone want to ask me something?
Mr. Newton, I'm Dwayne Whiteley of CBS Television. Can you tell me how it feels to be out again?
No, not yet.
What are your plans for the future?
As you know, my company was engaged in a rather large undertaking to send a craft out into the solar system. During my confinement, which was in no way unpleasant, I have had a chance to think.
Yes?
The project was overambitious. I'm going to abandon it.
Oh, Tommy. He didn't have to decide right away, did he?
I think there were people who needed to know.
The ones who worked for him?
Yes, and his family and friends.
Can you talk to him?
I don't know. I'm not sure it would do much good.
Tommy didn't go back to the mansion. He vanished, I guess. Then 2 years later, Nathan was in New York, and across the street, there was Tommy, using a white stick and wearing a gray hat.
Good afternoon.
I'll bring your bottle right over, Mr. Newton.
Very good, Miss Hilbert.
Nathan said Tommy was there every day, sat on his own, drinking, but not today.
Hello?
Thomas Newton.
Nathan? I was hoping you might come. Have a drink with me, Nathan.
Yeah.
Now that you've found me, what can I help you with?
I want you to save the world.
Is it worth saving?
Yes, I think so. But I want to live out my life anyway. Can you do it?
Well, the government knows all about me.
You told them?
No. But they seem to have known for a long time. I think we were naive.
Can't you finish the ship?
You think they'd let me? Do you think I want to?
Well, do you?
No. Oh, yes, I suppose I do, Nathan, but not enough. Just not enough.
What about your people? Your family?
I imagine they'll all die. But then, they'll probably outlive you.
The ship?
The ship had to be finished on time. Our planets won't be close enough for 7 more years, and the United States would never let me launch it. If I did launch it, they would arrest the Antheians who returned and probably blind them, ruin their minds. Do you see Betty Jo often, Nathan?
We live together.
Ah, then life goes on.
Oh, what do you expect? Of course life goes on.
It's a good thing. She won't be lonely now. Are you married?
No. I've thought about it.
Oh, by all means, marry her. Marry her and go off on a honeymoon. Do you need money?
That's not why I haven't married her. Yes, I could use some money. Do you want to give me some?
By all means, yes. How much do you want?
Oh, $1 million.
Okay, I'll write you a check. Here. You fill it out and I'll sign.
It's made out.
You'll have to direct my hand.
You have good handwriting.
Of course I have. We did everything extremely well. Nothing overlooked. And I worked very hard to become an imitation human being. And of course, I succeeded. I'm glad I could do something with the money.
And there's no chance.
Of course, Nathan. Of course there's a chance.
Thank you for the money.
Oh. Easy come. Easy go, Nathan. Easy come, easy go. Easy come. Easy go.
Hey. Come on. You said there was a chance.
Miss Elbert comes back. More drinks, she asks.
We've had enough.
I'm afraid that fellow needs help, she says.
Yeah. I guess he does.
And he holds him. Nathan holds him as he cries. And he's as light as a feather, as if he's hardly there at all.
The Man Who Fell to Earth was written by Walter Tevis and adapted by Stephen Keyworth. It starred Harry Treadaway as Newton, Christopher Eccleston as Bryce, Laura Aikman as Betty Jo, Stuart Milligan as Farnsworth, Glenn McCready as CIA Director Bowen, Akko Mitchell as Canute, Andre Rafik as Bernard, Fiona Sheehan as Dr. Martinez, and Alex Dunmore as Sarah Miller. Sound design was by John Nichols. Music was by Gazelle Twin. The director was Simon Barnard, and it was a Bafflegab production for BBC Radio 4.